And before you know it, you just have too many Christians receiving watered down and false doctrine, instead of us coming together and just slowing down a little bit and just going back to the basics. So this is very interesting. Tribbett, in an interview in the Breakfast Club, stepped out and said, and really just shared his opinion on church and where it's gone, where it's moving towards, like the stuff that's happening, and really kind of just explaining to the people the problems of why the church is the way that it is right now. I want to show you guys this clip. We're going to talk about it. We're going to dissect it per usual, but let's get into this. Let's check it out.
Think it's a system now. Oh God, it's a system. Everything is a system, and systems work with or without God. So I think the institution of church is whack. I think how church is ran is whack. I think the religious system and structure is whack. I don't subscribe to it, even though I grew up in it, I benefited from it, but I learned that God is not the church. And once I realized, whoa, God ain't church, that for me, you know what I mean? I ain't from the streets, I'm from the church. So that was a huge thing as well.
So he said a lot. He said a lot. In that short clip, he said a lot. Let's talk about it. The institution of church, the way that it's ran, it being whack, as Tribbett said. I agree with that. I agree with that. Like he said, even as someone who grew up in the church, someone who was always a part of the church, benefited from it, you know what I mean, at the times when I was in the church. But you realize that in being in the church, you're able to see the things that Ty was talking about here. There's a lot of tradition of men, that systematic, that religious systematic systems that he's talking about, tradition of men, and it can work with or without God. And that's what I was talking about. And I feel that that's why a lot of the churches have this huge push nowadays. Like I remember there was a time back in the day coming up in church, just like Ty said, coming up in church back in the day was different, man. It was, you know, revival was even different. Just being in the church, how the church was ran was even different. But now there, like he said, there's institutions. It's like business and structures and things that are set in place where these ministries are growing. These churches are growing, yes, at fast rates. But it's like they're not really growing because it's like, is God really calling you to grow there? Or is there just a system in place of tithing and offering, or as people say, sowing and partnering now? You see how they try to be kind of like, I guess they try to be, you know, I don't know, manipulative, if you will, with the word change. You know, we don't really want to say too much tithing and offering, but we'll say sowing, because we know the Bible talks about reaping what we sow. So we put a huge emphasis on sow. That's what the church is doing right now. They also put a huge emphasis on partnership. Are you partnering with the vision? You're partnering with us because you see the ultimate vision, so you're pushing for it. But there, what happens with that is that it becomes more of a business than it becomes an actual ministry where there's outreach taking place. So it's like they are reaching out, but they're reaching out with open hands, requiring more money to keep whatever systems they have going on by the finances of the people. You know, you got Joel Osteen, who he just did a message and talked to his congregation about how they just paid off like what was it, like a $15 million loan or something. It was crazy. Like it was a lot of money, and they had just paid that off. But when you think about that, it was literally due to all the giving and contributions of the people that are in the church. That's how you're able to pay that off. So like he said, there's systems in place, and there's things that these churches do that even without God, and that's very kind of like sad to say, you know, but it's the truth, you know, that a lot of these ministries and the way that things are going today in the church, you don't really need God in order for church to be a thing. And that's how you can see so many of these leaders and these new pastors that have come out and they have these big churches. That's how you're able to see it, because it's not really being ran, you know, off of the will of God, if you will. It's being ran off of selfishness, greed, and people's own individual agendas, if I'm going to be honest. But that's interesting, man. It's very interesting. And he also talked about it, you know what I mean? Like coming up in the church, being someone who was in the church. Think about that. I talked about that in another video. Like the church has changed so much because they're trying to involve so much of the new, and they're trying to get so many of the new people involved, but you're forgetting about the people who've been there forever. And we're seeing that change, and it's not change for the good, even though these churches are trying to make it seem like they're changing and advancing for the good. But it's not. Change and advancement is good. That those things are good things, but it's the way the church is going about it in today's time is where it makes it seem like, nah, it's not really the best thing to do. That's just my opinion. It's just not the best thing to do. And other people, even this gentleman here, and he's a preacher himself, and I like how, he even handles, his ministry and how he goes about things and how he goes about teaching the word of God, and it is new. It is fresh. It is a new way to receive it, but he doesn't corrupt it. You see what I'm saying? He doesn't go too far off like these other churches do, where they start corrupting the word of God because, like I said, they're trying to feed their own agenda. They have their own agenda there. Back in the day, man, church used to be such a good place where there was so much going on. You had Vacation Bible School. You had, daycares going on. Sometimes the church even had a little school there. There was nurseries. You could take your kids there for daycare. These days, I don't even know if churches have too many daycares. And if they do have daycares, it's like, is it free, or do the members still have to pay for that? When does the church get back to the place where it was really just a service for the people of God, for the children of God, for people that would want to come in, when the church was literally like that hospital? You see it in movies, people are going through and they can just go to the church. But I know in today's time, some of these mega churches, they have days. Some of these pastors, they have days off. They take days off. They're like, look, I don't do nothing on this day. And I get it. You need a rest. You need to kind of rest up. But the church is supposed to be available for the people at all times. But like I said, when the church isn't operating the way that the church is supposed to operate, that's when those things happen. That's when you don't have it available for the community. That's when, the church isn't being what the church is supposed to be for its community and for the people that are contributors to that church. Because when you think about it, man, a church only survives off of its members. And that's why I believe that a lot of the new leaders, they started moving to the more persuasive 30-minute, 1 hour long tithes and offering miniature sermons that they give out just to collect an offering, instead of just letting there be an offering and people give genuinely. If a man so purpose in his heart, so let him give. So a man would just give genuinely, you know what I mean? Cheerfully. If this is what they have, they'll give what they have, and the church operate off of that. Instead of pushing and priming people and trying to mesh it, the prosperity gospel, trying to mesh it with prosperity and saying that if you sow, you're going to reap even more and you're going to be abundant and you can have everything you want, but you just got to sow and you just got to sow and you just got to sow. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. And I've always been uncomfortable when churches, start doing that and they have such a long, tithes and offering segment. Kind of just turns me off. And at that point, it's like I just want to get up and walk away and leave. So it's just very interesting. It's very interesting, how, this is going down and how this is all happening in the church in today's time. And even for somebody like Tribbett, and the platform that he has and the success that he has in his own life, to come out and say this, that's how you even really know. That's how you really, really know that things have changed and things have taken a turn and taken a turn for the worse. You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate that this is happening in the church, but it's like, bro, if my people would just humble themselves, turn from their wicked ways and pray, God will heal our land. That's when he'll do it, but there's a lot of greed, a lot of wickedness, a lot of things just happening the wrong way. And us Christians, man, some of us are suffering because of it, because I see so many people and I hear so many stories, and I'm also one of those people where you just want to be able to go to a church and you just want to be able to be in an environment where you can honestly just receive the unadulterated, purified word of God. And you want to worship, you want to praise, and you want to learn something. You want to be changed from the inside out. You really want to do the work of God, and you really want to get to know Christ. But a lot of these ministries, man, that are out there today, they're just not offering that. They're not. I think the main thing they want these days is just the growth and the clout and the front stage, the acknowledgments. They want to be known and they want to grow and expand. But what are we expanding for? Because sometimes we can expand too fast. Sometimes we can move too fast, but the whole journey about Christ, the whole journey that we learn when we build this relationship with him, is that waiting is a big part of being in a relationship with Christ and having a relationship, waiting on him, renewing your strength in the way. Sometimes we can expand too quick. And that's what a lot of churches could possibly do, expand too quick. And we haven't really fostered a good relationship and a good understanding with the people that we had in the beginning. So we're just spreading, and before you know it, you just have too many Christians receiving watered down and false doctrine, instead of us coming together and just slowing down a little bit and just going back to the basics. That's what I would say with a lot of these ministries and with Christianity right now, and how there's just so much going on in the Christian realm. Let's just go back to the basics. Honestly, let's literally just get back to the basics. Let's write the vision out. Let's make it plain, and let's just do exactly what that vision says and leave it at that, and just allow God to show us what's to happen next. I used to be a person that always needed to be in control, good with my words, able to just be able to persuade, able to be able to do this, but for what? Selfish gain? No. Until recently, I just set up my life in a way where it's like each and every day, God, I'm literally waiting for you to amaze me, because I love being amazed by you. Even when I don't know the circumstances, I don't know the outcome, I don't know what's going to happen, I don't know what's to come. But I know that you're in the future holding what is to come, and you're working things out for me. And that is a very peaceful place to be in. Instead of always having to be in control, always trying to figure it out, trying to push your own agenda, trying to push your own means. Even when I create my videos, I pray before I create my videos for anyone who's going to be able to land on the video, for anyone who watches it, that they learn something, that they be spoken to in a way that they can understand the Lord, that they can, get a better relationship with him and get a better and deeper understanding. I pray for those things, and I just allow God to amaze me. But I don't sit there scheming and skizzing, and I used to, but I don't sit there scheming and skizzing and trying to figure out, how can I get more people to watch my video? How can I get my video across more people's screens? And it's not about that. I believe that God is going to orchestrate things the way that he wants to orchestrate them. And I believe that as I've prayed for everyone before you've even watched this video, when you watch this video, I believe that that prayer was for you. And I believe the video was for you as well. But yeah, man, we got to pray for our churches, man. And we just got to get back to the basics as Christians. I feel like we've got lost in the sauce, as people say, man, lost in the sauce of just trying to stay hip, trying to stay new, trying to stay relevant. We focus so much more, I realize now today, in the decorum of the church instead of the heart and the posture of the church. Wow. I'm going to just leave that right there, man. That's all I got for you guys. Pray for our churches and pray for our Christian community, man. I appreciate it if you guys stayed this long. To the next one, guys. I'm out.